welcome to episode 5
Episode 5
of the Gathering Place podcast.
It's not that hard to remember.
Well, I kept calling
I'm
it the
gonna get a
Gathering
sign.
Table at one point.
Stop
And so
saying
that's
it,
in
because
my
that's how it
head.
messes you up.
So-
The Gathering Place, I'm going to get a sign. We're probably going to get rid of the lamp and we'll get a sign. There we go.
Yeah,
Okay,
All right,
Gathering
and that'll help
Place.
remind me. So,
Maybe.
the Gathering Place podcast.
Yes.
This passion project that I have wanted to do for
Yes.
so long. At least 3 years now, and I'm so excited. Like, I could talk all afternoon.
We know.
Even though Hope and Drew probably wouldn't want to be here all afternoon listening
No.
to all the stories and everything.
No.
But anyways, I love this.
We do like listening to your stories.
Well, we've got a lot
Small
more to come.
increments.
So,
And we're wearing the same clothes. So
we're wearing the same clothes. So
which
both
means
of
we
us
filmed
forgot
all
our,
these in the same day.
we forgot our outfit changes, but we'll remember it next
We'll
time.
figure
So,
that out.
you know what?
So-
It's transparency.
Yeah.
We are doing some of these back to back to back, and it is what it is, you know?
All right. So let's
So-
talk about the big topic for today.
Very uncomfortable right now.
You're going to be fine.
So probably one of the most, like, I'm not normally uncomfortable in situations, hardly
No,
ever.
You're very private.
But
though.
I just don't like talking about this.
You're very private when it comes to your personal self,
Yeah, but I want to help everybody else. Like,
which
and I
is
wanna,
why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this podcast is going to make you relate to people who may be in the same situation or similar and feel like they're all alone. So that is why Drew and I pushed you to do this.
Okay.
So what happened in let's see, it was the end of February, 1st of March of this year, 2023.
Well,
actually, let's go back.
Yeah, probably need to back up a little
Not
bit.
too far, because this is, we got a little bit of time.
We only have 20 minutes, right?
Yes, we only have
So,
20 minutes.
Okay,
So
all right.
Not
So
way back. Give us the Reader's Digest version.
Drew gives us a countdown of when we're, like, ending it.
Yes.
And
Joe starts talking
I start
more.
talking about a whole new subject
Okay.
at that point.
Let's go to this one.
Anyways. All right, so let's back up. I went to our holistic wellness doctor just
Okay.
on an appointment.
It is, but she's
Not really holistic.
It's not
She's just a
holistic.
wellness doctor.
Functional medicine.
Functional medicine doctor. Okay.
Functional
Love her to
medicine.
pieces.
Root
Has absolutely changed
everything.
so much in our lives. So
Everything.
we love it.
We're fortunate she's in Aiken. We can tell you who she is. Just
Yes.
ask us. Go
So
ahead.
went to her, was having some pain.
Been seeing her for a while.
Been seeing her for a while, but went to her, been having some abdominal pain, things like that. So go to her, she's checking blood pressure and taking all the things and checking vitals and telling her what's going on. And at that point, I'm almost doubled over.
At this point, we're thinking, let's fast forward because we have 20 minutes. We were thinking it's appendicitis. She
So
sent us to
she
the
sends
ER.
she sends us to the ER. Spent, I don't know, 5 days in the hospital? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I think 5 days in the hospital at that point because they were trying to rule out, is it appendicitis? Everything's so swollen and inflamed in that section. They really can't see. Is it an appendicitis? Is it something else going on? Is it all kinds
Is
of
it
things?
Crohn's that you've had for over 20
So
years?
I have been diagnosed with Crohn's disease since
1997.
1997.
More than
Been
20
on
years.
treatments on and off with Crohn's disease through the years, and they've helped. But going through and dealing with functional medicine, we were exploring things to come off of those treatments because they are pretty high powered. Have some side effects with some treatments, and so
Yes.
we experienced some side effects.
Yes.
That's another subject.
But it is important to this one because you were on a medication that kind of launched you into this. So essentially, because you were on a medication for 20 plus years, it suppressed your immune system to allow your Crohn's to be at bay and not cause as many problems. But what it also did was allowed a fast growing melanoma to grow. So you had that removed. It was a level 4 melanoma. You had it removed. You went on a specific treatment. When you came for a year, an oral treatment. So once that treatment was over, that is
Oral
when
chemo treatment.
treatment. When that was over, that is when you had the attack, which we thought was appendicitis, but we come to find out it was Crohn's. That medicine that you were on for the melanoma suppressed your immune system as well. So it's almost like when you came off of it, it was like Crohn's just told you, here I
Yeah.
am, we are here, this is what reared its ugly head. So from November to January, we waited.
So the inflammation was so bad
Yes.
in November, they couldn't really tell
What it was.
So they did rule out appendicitis.
Yes.
So they said it is not an appendicitis. I remember a nurse walking in my room. She says, I guarantee
Yes.
it's not an appendicitis. It's something else. So it's an inflamed ileum, which is part of your small bowel.
Which you previously had not had problems with.
Right. So not typical, not my typical Crohn's markers that I would know. All right, I'm kind of going into a flare up. So everything else was going well.
So you thought that
I thought
it really
it
was
was,
appendicitis.
but it wasn't. So I really thought it was appendicitis, and I was kind of hoping it was appendicitis, to where they go in, take it out, and I can get back on my way. But that wasn't the case.
No. So we needed to get in with a new group.
Yeah. So previous doctor and all wasn't very aggressive. He wanted just to throw medicine at it, and
clearly we wanted to be a more functional approach.
I don't like taking medicine, but
if
I don't have to, and definitely didn't want to be on more medication.
Right.
So we decided to go with another group, a more aggressive group that we had heard great things about at a local hospital here, and so fortunate that we did. So we got in with that group in January.
It took like 2 months to get in.
You were dealing with the holidays and stuff
And
like that,
that was
so
emergent,
harder to get in.
and that was also an emergent situation.
Yeah.
So
as soon as we could get in,
as soon as
was
we got
January.
in,
Yeah. So met with that doctor, ran some
preliminary tests to establish you as a patient.
some scans and all that, and so, anyways, he just said, "You've been dealing with this inflammation. You've had Crohn's disease. It's kind of been at bay for a long time, but you're severely inflamed, and it's been like this for a long time. There's a lot of damage there." So, ended up going back in the hospital.
Well, you had a test.
Had a
test, and when you got the results from that test, within 24 hours of that test, your gastroenterologist said, "I need you to go to the emergency room now. You have an abscess and fistulas that you need to have addressed." So you went into the hospital in January, and you spent 5 days there then as well. Joe does not like the hospital.
I do not like being in the hospital. I feel like I'm in a jail cell.
But if you have ever go to the hospital with him, it is literally anyway. So he hates being there.
I'm not in a hospital gown. Like,
no.
The nurses would come in and go, "Where's the patient?" Like, I'm not showing my little wristband. Here I am. Because I'm fully dressed and doing work, and
he convinced them to allow him out of the hospital after the abscess was drained. I have never seen so many doctors in my life, teams of doctors that would come through. It was a very scary time. But anyway, had it drained.
But we knew we were in good hands.
Yes, we did know we were in good hands. That was the good thing. So it was drained. Joe convinced them to leave. Come to find out, the gastroenterologist did not want Joe to leave. But if you know my husband, no is not in his vocabulary. So anyway.
I felt fine.
He felt fine. So he sent us back to the emergency room to go and have it tested out again. And they let us go. Thank goodness, because Joe mentally was just not wanting to be there. And then, long story short, after that second time in the ER,
for a scan,
to make sure that we were on the right path, the gastroenterologist said, and the colorectal surgeon said, "Look, this is just
no other option.
We just need a break.
Your
body needs a break.
Go in for surgery."
So they decided that he would have. This is the part Joe probably doesn't want to talk about as much. So, you interject where you want to interject. But they have decided to give his colon, or his small intestine, small bowel, a rest.
Small and large.
A rest.
And so
what that means is they performed something called an ileostomy, which is where they bypass the system for a short amount of time, and there's an attachment on the outside of your body that does all the collecting and all those kinds of things, and allows it to get the rest that it needs to heal.
I'm not totally mad about it, because it's extremely convenient.
He's learned to do so.
Yeah, I'm not real mad about it, but at first it was difficult because
it was a little challenging.
There's this thing poking out of my belly, and now I've got a bag hanging off my belly.
It was a lot
awkward.
To process.
It was a lot to process because prior to going in, me nor you actually realize the gravity of it.
The
and
situation.
Neither one of us even looked up what it was
No,
online, so we had no clue until
literally going
day of
into surgery. And the lady comes out and and I was like, let me look this up. And
neither one of us thought to do that. I thought we would go in for surgery on a Thursday and I'd be back at work on Monday, but that was not the case.
Well, every nurse friend that we know told you that you were not. But Joe has, again, mindset. You'll learn about that on podcasts from him. Mindset over matter. Like he's always over focusing on that. And so he was like, I'm going to be out. Like, also his level 10 if you go in the hospital and they ask you between what's your levels is 1 to 10, what's the worst pain you've ever felt in your life? When Joe tells you a 10, it's probably a 20 for the average person. It literally is an off the chart situation. So this was emergent. Let's move forward. Had the surgery, we found out what was going on. That knocked you back a little bit. It took you by surprise. Coming out of surgery, dealing with this, but you have come to embrace this. This is temporary.
With your help.
Well,
Hope will tell you, I freak out sometimes, and she has to be there.
I honestly am like one of the most empathetic people you'll ever meet. And when someone around me is hurting, some people think this is weird, but if you tell me you sliced your finger, every surgical site that I've ever had my entire life starts hurting. And so the fact that I can actually take care of that with you is a big deal for me.
It's a big deal.
Because I don't do things like that. My family and the ones I love cannot hurt, or I will go in meltdown mode. So we're learning how to do this together. Again, it's temporary. I'm so proud of him because he has embraced it, and you found the humor in it.
You just keep moving.
You just keep moving. And but I think people need to know, like, this was 2 weeks for you to wrap your head around this and get back to where
and finally I was just like, okay, we're here.
Let's move on.
Let's go. Yep. So get back at work, start making my phone calls.
But I think it's important you tell people you took 2 solid weeks mentally and physically.
I made the first phone call to anybody or accepted a phone call from anybody.
And I tried to push you a couple days ahead of that, and you're like, I can't do that right now. And I think that people need to know that that's normal. But again, because of the support system that you've built in our business, everyone rallied. And everyone wanted to rally. The ones, our agent, our buyer's agents, our admin, they wanted to rally to help because they know that that's the environment that you've created. It's a family atmosphere. And they did. They held it down
like champs.
Yep. It was, again, we go back to the podcast before now, we talked about relationship over transaction. Each one of the people in our lives, in our business, that is why, because we invest in relationships. But if you are listening to or watching this podcast today and like anything like this has ever gone on in your life, Joe is not always an open book about his health.
Our personal lives.
But he is learning to be more so about this because it's been a transition. Joe likes to wear polo shirts tucked in with a belt. I remember going to Charleston to show one of our favorite clients' homes, and it was the first time. Like, y'all, they make stuff. Like, I got him a stealth belt, and it kind of like
it just tightens things
conceals
up. Everything.
And the first time he wore it, he tucked his shirt in, and he had a belt, and I looked at him, and I was like, I can't even tell. Yeah. Like, I can't even tell.
Yeah.
And
then there are days that I just let it all hang out, and I really don't care.
And whatever,
I don't care if people see it or ask about it or anything.
I think it's important that people know that there are a lot of things in life, medically and physically, they do not have to hold you back. And I think this is where you do speak into mindset's important.
It's mindset, and so I work a lot on mindset. Mindset is very important to me, and I really didn't come to realize how important it was or how much it can change. The one thing that you can change is your thought. Like, you might not have any control over anything going on in your life on a certain day or a certain time period, but you can absolutely change your thought process on how you're dealing with it. So, just like a certain client that we're dealing with right now, she called yesterday and it was the end of the world in her eyes, you know, but it's all about mindset, and you can change that. And I talked to her this morning, totally different client, because she changed her mindset. She changed what was going on. So that's what we can do in our personal lives. And are you texting?
I'm sorry. Someone needs a door code to get
Really?
in. One of
Anyways,
our beautiful admin needs to get signs to put out, and she doesn't know how to get in the door. Because you gave us a fancy new door. Right, Drew?
Anyways, mindset. You can change your thought. Like, you can, if you're having a crummy day, instead of saying it's going to be a crummy day, think of a win and 2 good intentions that you're going to do. We do that every single morning. We get on the phone with our team. I get on the phone with a coaching group across the country. We state a win or 2 and then a couple of intentions that we're going to do, and it just holds everybody accountable. And even if you wake up and it's pouring down rain, or you got some news that you just didn't want to deal with or hear, you can change your mindset around that, right?
Right.
Because you could change your thought.
Right.
So after coming out of this last surgery, I was not in a good headspace. And I told you going into it, the one thing that I'm really worried and concerned about is my mindset, because I pour so much into it.
Right.
Money, time, a lot. I pour a lot into my mindset.
But you did good. You took 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I took 2 weeks, which was a lot longer than I had expected, but I think I needed that time.
You did, and it was major.
To really kind of process what was going on.
Right.
But through that, I could have just sat there and wallowed, and I could still be wallowing. How many? 4 weeks post-surgery? 5 weeks post-surgery?
You're the numbers person.
5 weeks post-surgery. I could wallow in it and go, oh my gosh, my life is over. I can't believe I've got to wear this thing. It hinders me from doing certain things. What are people going to think of?
But then some days you're like, do I need to go back for the second surgery? This is very convenient.
I'm like, I'm kind of liking this new lifestyle.
It's just, again, it's just your ebb and flows.
You could change your mindset around. I could literally and I've got a friend who, before surgery, I called and checked in, and after talking to her, I mean, she had me on my deathbed, and I'm like, I'm sorry I called you. I really didn't want to hear all that, But that's not the case, I took 2 weeks. I took a full 2 weeks.
And that 2 weeks was fine. And even if I think the important thing is sometimes people might need to take more, but you've got to get up.
2 weeks in the scheme, in the stretch of a year is nothing. It's not even a drop in the bucket.
And when this is all over, you get a clean slate.
Yes. So we'll have another surgery. We don't know if it's going to be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now. We'll have another surgery to go in and kind of, take this bag off and resection everything. I'll have a few weeks of healing from that. I remember I'm begging this surgeon to let me out of the hospital. And I remember her just leaning over my bed and going, because I was in pain. Like, it was not an easy surgery. Thought it was going to be very easy. I thought, they'll just take this part and put it in a bag and I'll be fine. It was a tough surgery. And I'm a tough guy. But it was tough. It was a tough surgery. I remember the surgeon coming in and leaning over my hospital bed, and she said, this isn't even the hard surgery. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, all right, so note to self, on this next surgery, give me a morphine drip that I can control myself.
Yes, that probably would be a lot better.
So anyways, it was tough, but I changed my mindset. Like, I physically had to, all right, Joe, this is not as bad. There are way worse things. There are people losing their children. There are people who are losing limbs, and you've got a temporary bag on.
I think we had that discussion at one point too.
Because there were some things going on while I was in the hospital, watching news things coming, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the hospital. They're bringing me trays of food. It ain't that bad,
right?
And so change your mindset. It's all in perspective. Change the way you think about it. yeah, you might be out of work. I love work. Work is my hobby. Work is my life. I love being busy. Yeah, you might be out of work for a couple weeks, but it's just a couple weeks. And so kind of get used to the new lifestyle didn't take very long in the grand scheme of things. We're post-surgery 5 weeks now. And so, what is 2 weeks out of those 5 weeks? Nothing much, right?
Right.
So we've been back at it. Has it been 5 weeks or 6?
I don't know,
but anyways, it's been a
while.
Keep
asking me.
It's
don't
been
do
a while.
Numbers.
But like you said, I've learned to embrace it. It is what it is. It's kind of convenient. I'm learning foods I can eat, foods I don't need to eat, times of when I need to stop eating at night. Learning all kind of stuff that I think will actually stick with us even after all of this. I can tell you what foods are not good for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think just me, I think it's for everybody.
Right.
That I might try and doesn't come out right. So, anyways, it's been a learning curve. But something that I'm grateful for. Like, I'm grateful for the doctors and teams and surgeons and all that
I'm going to remind you of that when you go back.
But they have absolutely
right.
Been life changing.
Really,
so
they have.
One of the things that our doctor told me is this will reset the clock.
Yes, you'll get.
And when he said that, I'm like,
sign me
up. How
quick
quick can we get this thing done? Because I've dealt with this for a long time. So I'm 44.
You just told our age, and I told him in previous episodes.
It's okay. I'm 44 years old.
We're
transparent on this podcast.
I'm still 29.
This is the transparency podcast. But anyways,
well, since we're being transparent,
44 years old, and I've dealt with this since I was 17 years old. So, long time that I've dealt with this, and I'm just ready to get a fresh start. Like, I don't even feel like half of our lives are over because I'm gonna live till I'm 110.
There you go. Well, you're out of time.
I'm out of time, but anyways, it's been a good experience so far. It's not been near as bad as I thought, and so we'll talk more, and we'll have follow-up podcast on it. So
if you have questions, reach out.
Yeah. So it's called an ileostomy. Is that what he did? So they took part of my small bowel and detached it, let everything rest, and then they're going to go back in and resection everything.
Right.
And then, like my doctor said, reset the clock.
That's right.
And so, but I couldn't have done it without Hope sitting here kind of just...
Our entire support system.
Making sure everything happened for me. There were days that I just give her my phone and just answer my phone, reply to text, stuff like that.
So if you got a weird message, it was for me. But anyway.
Anyways, we are out of time.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us on the 5th episode of the Gathering Place podcast. Yes. I'm going to get that right one day, and it's going to just roll off my tongue.
Let me get you signs.
Yeah.
I'm also getting you a clock. A countdown.
That starts flashing.
That's
right. Like you're out of time. So we want to do these episodes so you can listen to them like on the way to work or on the way to drop the kids off at school or pick them up or something like that. And Drew's looking at his clock like this one's going
like
way
5
over.
minutes over.
But anyways, that's why we want them to be kind of short form.
Sweet.
But as y'all can see, I've got a lot of words. And so anyways, that was it. So
all right,
episode 5 of the Gathering Place podcast.
Oh my gosh. Yes, bye.
We'll be in different clothes next time. So anyways, thank y'all for joining us. We'll see y'all.